Ho, 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 ho. Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and fellow League of Legends lovers. It's been 2 weeks. That means there's a new patch out, patch 14.15, and we are here to review it, to scrutinize it, to rate it, to love it, to hate it. We shall see. So, I have played League because there's a pass out. As always, my opinions are very heavily based on what I experience, what I see, and I have seen a lot of League recently. I've been playing Ranked, I've been playing Normals, I've been playing Quick Play, I've been absolutely violating Swarm, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here. But in general, I do have, I think, a decently good grasp of League, although I haven't been playing too much Rift. Even though I have been playing a lot, it has, like I said, been mostly Swarm. So my opinions might be a little out of touch, but that is fine. We're here to mostly react and surmise, not really have a good, honest grasp on it, at least for now. But anyway, let's see what they're changing. So hopefully they make ADs better. I don't really expect much from this patch because we are kind of in the thick of it. I expect this to be either a big quality of life patch or just a nonsensical patch. I'm not expecting much, aside from the new skins coming out with the second wave of the Swarm event. Even though I don't think they're doing anything in Swarm specifically, I think we're just getting the second wave of skins, but it's still pretty good. So I'm not expecting much, but let's see. Hopefully I'm surprised. Either way, this is from Riot Sakar. I wonder if that has to do with Incredible Hulk, but I'm not sure. Either way, it's time for another patch. This time we're bringing you Summoner's Rift, ARAM, Arena, and Swarm changes. I'm actually shocked. You could say we were swarmed with changes. We've got a ton of new augments and new items for Arena, alongside some changes to the Koi Pond over in ARAM land, one of my favorite lands. We have a handful of champion balancing changes with the shiny new Swarm mode. Oh wait, they misspelled that actually. They said Swam. Wow. With the shiny new Swam mode, we have a bunch of buffs to bring up some champions to the level of OP we're seeing with nobody in particular. Totally not looking at you, Riven. The live balance updates this patch have a few broad categories. First, we're taking a pass on several mid laners who we think should have a strong laning phase but currently don't. I heard, for now at least, especially in the pro scene, we're getting back to the point where ADCs are going mid. Mostly Tristana from what I've seen, but some others. I don't think Lucian, but I'm not sure. But that's definitely going to be an issue, and that's definitely going to be swatted down immediately, because if anyone goes bot lane, it's fine. But if bot laners go anywhere else, it's a problem. So that's definitely going to get taken care of. But let's see. Either way, in most cases, we're trying to preserve the overall power level but reshape it a bit. Secondly, we're shifting the power levels of AD and AP itemizations, with nerfs to Kraken Slayer, wow, Static Shiv, which I'm going to talk about, and Last Whisper's crit upgrades, interesting. Buffs to Storm Surge, which I think is a horrible mid lane item. It's deceptively horrible. Cosmic Drive, which is niche. Rocket Belt, which is also niche. And Void Staff, which is somewhat niche, but kind of. And I'll go into Void Staff too, because there's another item. If they pop it up, I'll talk about it in relation, but either way, I probably will. Either way, an Abyssal Mask, which I forgot even existed. Third, we're nerfing most tier 2 boot upgrades by 10 to 20% to make them no longer the optimal item rush in most lanes. Wow. Interesting. So some stuff to go over. Anyway, now we are getting Primordian Aatrox, Battle Lion Leona, Battle Bear Alawi, Battle Wolf Yasuo, and Primordian Briar. Tomorrow. Not today, because the patch comes out tomorrow. Either way, we have some updates to ranked restrictions. We are testing a change to ranked restrictions on the Korean server only, the server that actually is serious. From 14.15 onwards, ranked restriction players are required to win 3 games rather than complete 5 games to recover access to ranked. So this actually has to do with the change they did before, and this is just, I would say, new age Riot. They're doing all these different things to kind of combat toxicity, to kind of help relieve some pain points from players that are being difficult, let's just say. And one of those things was, okay, now if you're like reported or whatever, if you get like a restriction, you can't hop straight back into rank. You have to play games. Now, what people would do is they would go to normal games and they would just troll. They would troll, try and lose as fast as possible, and just basically make the experience horrible, where normal was getting flooded with like toxic ass players from ranked that were causing mad issues just because they wanted to get into ranked as fast as possible. They didn't care because they love trolling in ranked, not in normals for some reason. But this kind of helps fix it. I don't know why they're only testing it on Korea. I mean, I know Korea is toxic as fuck, but they're very cutthroat over there. But I think this is something they don't need to test. They should just put it in. Like, I don't know why they're waiting. But, you know, they'll do their test. I think it's going to be a surefire deal. Don't make it 5 games played, make it 3 wins. Now, granted, that might increase the time, but hey, you might get unlucky, but fuck it. You lost the right to be a part of the players when you decide to be a toxic fucker. So no sympathy from me. Either way, good change. Hope it comes to global. Anyway, Akali. What do I think of Akali? I have seen Pobelter play Akali like crazy. I think Pobelter is a pretty good player. But aside from that, I feel like Akali is... I mean, I'm an AD player, so I think she's always scary. But to be good on Akali and to do as good, especially after all the nerfs, I feel like you need to be exceptionally good past a certain point. And this is always what I end up talking about. It's okay, if the champion is skill capped, right? If you need to be skilled at the champion, how much fairness is it where if you're really good, you dominate? Because you had to earn that, right? You had to become that good. And where's the cutoff point where they're just too good and you're getting too much out of them, even if you're good? Excuse me. Like, how much do you have to lower them for it to be fair, where you're still good but you're doing good? And it becomes a sort of competition with other champions. Okay, I could do this good on Akali if I'm really, really fucking good, if I work really hard, but I could do something similar on someone else for a lot easier effort. And that's kind of where I think the balancing act comes in. I think for Akali, it's a little too low. I think the people who are good at Akali will do extremely good, but those people have to be so good to where it's kind of unreasonable for a majority of the player base, and they're probably going to buff her if I had to think about it. But let's see. Because they've nerfed her a lot. But either way, what are they doing? W cooldown reduced at higher ranks, our damage increased, and cooldown increased at lower rank. Akali should be more powerful early when trying to dominate her lane opponent instead of waiting to scale. Once she does scale, we'd like it if she was less reliant on her ultimate for succeeding in combat, which they nerfed like shit. Making her first ult more lethal should make her a better laner, whereas her late game ult base damage decrease somewhat pays for the Twilight Shroud's improved cooldown. So what are they doing? The Twilight Shroud is going up in cooldown. Good players will absolutely be eating from this. 20 to 16. Now, granted, you're not maxing this, but the fact that it's getting cooldown at all, and it's a very powerful ability, pretty fucking good. And then the R. The R is going up by 82, 23, 60. It's going up from 80 to 110, so that's a 30 base increase. Wow. Pretty good. Pretty good early. Second cast minimum damage is going slightly up by 10, Riot's favorite number, 10 and 5. And then the second cast minimum damage, or sorry, maximum damage, is now going up as well. But the cooldown is going up slightly, especially early. Wow. I'm confused. What are they doing here? Our damage increased and cooldown increased at lower rank. Okay. So literally Akali's just stronger. Wow, this is actually a little bit scary. Now, I don't know if this is going to be the thing to put her over the edge. I don't think it will, but one more change similar to this, and I think Akali will be pretty fucking good. Aurora. Okay, I've played Aurora. I've gladly and sadly played this champion. I had high expectations for her. I liked her kit in theory. After playing her, I think she sucks absolute fucking wiener. I don't think she's that good. Now, granted, I've seen her do good. I've also done good with her. But to me personally, either my playstyle or, I don't know, just the feeling, she does good. Like, she does a lot of damage, and that's basically all she really does aside from her ult. She doesn't offer really any other benefit to the team aside from doing damage, but it's so weird playing her. Like, I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel like I have strength. Now, granted, she is supposed to be sort of like Nico, sort of like these mages who kind of just poke you down and then kind of full engage you. But I don't know, Aurora feels really weird. It feels like there's certain parts of her kit that you don't notice, and she is a scaler. Like, she scales pretty decently, not like Gwen, but she does scale, and I don't even think people are playing her top. She's in a very weird spot right now where, number one, I think people don't know what the fuck to build on her. I personally think Nashers might be good on her, but I haven't tried it yet. I hope to soon. But Aurora feels really weird, and it feels like she's still trying to find her footing. Now, whether she'll actually be OP or not once people figure out how to optimally use her, who knows? But right now, she feels a little off the mark, personally. And I've done good with her, and she seems to do damage, because even though I play like shit, I'm still doing like some of the most damage in the game on her because of her passive. But one of the things on her passive, the health regen you get when you proc it, it's so little and so wiener. It adds up over time, sure, like you're meant to be constantly in and out of battle, but it just feels like so negligible in the moment. Where over time it might have a benefit, but in the moment, I think that's probably the problem with Aurora. It doesn't feel too good, where you are doing things, you're just not noticing them. I think that's a big problem. But again, we don't know for sure because I think people are still trying to find the optimal stuff. So let's see what they're doing. I hope buff. I hope buff. So, passive movement speed decreased, which that thing scaled like pretty crazy. Spirit bonus formula changed. Q recast delay decreased. Thank God. I don't know why there was a delay at all. W cooldown increased and invis break timing adjusted. E dash speed decreased. R damage decreased. Wow. So apparently she's good, which is surprising to me. We're doing customary first patch follow-up on League's newest champion, the Bun Bun Girl. We're adding some quality of life to make the newest member of the Anima Squad even more smoother to play, which is good. Alongside these quality of life changes, we've also noticed she's a bit overpowered, which is surprising. I feel like she's not, especially in a higher level play. Okay, well there it is. So we're bringing down some of her more elite skewed strength. So what are they doing? Obviously move speed, very elite, very sleeper OP as I always say. So now it's going from 5 to 2%, but it's scaling, which is good. And then her base move speed is also getting lowered and scaling too. So that's sad. So basically you're kind of, I don't even want to say getting a buff because the scaling looks like shit, but it is also move speed, so they have to be careful. But basically the more spirits you have, so in a team fight, this could potentially be better. Anyway, the Q, the recast cooldown is going from 0.5 to 0.1. That's going to feel so much better, it's insane. Q2 can no longer miss its original target. The fact that it could is insane. That is technically a bug fix, but that should be a big buff. That is wild that it could miss. So the W cooldown, this is going up, and it's fair that this is going up because this shit is basically almost a free get out of jail free card. You get your passive move speed, which is now nerfed, so this is worse in two ways. Not only the cooldown, but the move speed you got from your passive is lower now. But invisibility breaking on auto attacks will now happen on launch of auto attack instead of pre-attack. I think that's a buff. Either way, her E dash speed is 150 plus 2 times move speed, so that is a nerf, I believe, in most situations. But then her R, between worlds. So this one, I was under the wrong impression of it because of Swarm specifically, and we will talk about Swarm when we get to that, but because of Swarm, I thought if you kept jumping in between the portal and you kept getting like teleported, I thought that would make it so you kept doing damage, and I thought this would be absolutely broken, but no, it only does damage one time, and it doesn't last long. Now, granted, they're locked in, right? They can't get out, but still, I was a little shell-shocked when I found out, like, oh, it's not like Swarm, because a lot of things from Swarm are very similar to how they are in League. But either way, what are they doing? So they're lowering the base damage by 50 and scaling by 5%. I think that's a little overkill personally, but I don't know. She's so weird. I mean, at least they're not hitting the passive damage. I think that's pretty good. But I don't feel like she's that good. I don't know. It's crazy to me that they're nerfing her. So maybe pros are abusing her, but people aren't. Because I'm looking at her stats, right? Her win rate and everything. It's really not that good. But either way, moving on to Asol. One of my favorite fucking mid laners, which they keep fucking nerfing, sadly, and I expect it still. If they nerfed him, and I think I mentioned this last time, if they nerfed him anymore, I would kind of be really sad. I would think he's kind of going into like terrible territory, but maybe he's just that overloaded. I don't know. I feel like Asol's kind of hard though. He's definitely abused by skilled players, just like old Asol, but man, we just can't have anything good because of these fuckers. But anyway, let's see what they're doing. Q mana cost increased, lovely. W range reduced at higher ranks, nice. And then E mana cost increased, nice. Aurelion Soul's changes last patch ended up making him stronger than we wanted to, my ass. So we're addressing that boost in power with some direct nerfs to ensure he doesn't spike too hard too quickly. They're not wrong there. If Asol gets going, there's no stopping him because he infinite scales really fucking hard, which I like. Relying on stacking under duress to reach his maximal star dragon height. So what are they doing? The cost per second is going up by 5. The range is staying equal to 1500, which is honestly fine because this is supposed to scale anyway. This is a very pro-skewed nerf, though. I think only pros could really, or high-skilled people, can really take more advantage of the extra range on W. A lot of other people either do it completely wrong or they're scared to do it. So I think this is fine for most people. And then the mana cost of E is going up by 10. I wish they would reduce the cooldown of E. Like, I feel like Asol's main pain point, at least to me, is just the fact that if you're not confident enough or if you know you're not going to win, you basically have to wait for your E to do anything. If you don't have your E up, it's kind of like Malzahar. It's like, what are you even doing there? You're almost a non-champion. Almost. And that's where the little Q spam came in, but they reverted that. So it's all slightly worse. Sad. I think he's going into somewhat unfavorable territory, but we'll see. Cassio. I haven't seen Cassio for a while. Cassio is really sleeper good if you're really good at her. It's a similar thing to Akali, except it's harder. I think she's honestly probably harder than Akali because you need to actually kite and have spacing. But I think she's really weak. I think it's really, really hard to play her. I think she's probably gonna get a buff. If she gets a buff though, it's gonna massively improve like what the mains are doing on her, because she is a force to be reckoned with if she scales. But no one plays her and she takes forever to scale. So let's see what they're doing. I expect buffs here. Base mana increased, mana growth decreased. Okay, so they're front loading her. Q mana cost reduced at higher ranks, which is good, and damage reduced. That's not good. W mana cost decreased, and E mana cost decreased, and damage decreased as well. Cassio has had very poor laning phase, which is intentional, where she can only afford to interact with minions for a while, waiting for a long time until she scales up and has the mana pool to finally fight. True. Despite those weaknesses, she's still holding her own. This patch we're giving her the space to interact with her opponents more in lane, but taking down some of that eventual late game damage, since her road there is much smoother. So they're making her more reasonable to play relatively. Her mana is going up by 50, her scaling is going down by 20. Her Q, how much are they nerfing it? By 20. Wow. Sorry, that's mana cost. Let me see the damage. The mana cost is whatever, but mana cost is good. Damage is going from 90 scaling to 70 scaling. That's a huge hit. That is a pretty huge hit, especially because Cassio gets a lot of AP, so you're going to feel that. I think that's a little harsh. I would have settled for 10. I think 15 is reasonable. 20% feels kind of crazy. But it is the Q, and the Q isn't really the main part. So honestly, it's not too bad. I think the E is the main thing I'm scared of, but let's see. So the W miasma is going down. That's pretty good. And then the E mana cost is getting equalized to 40, which is great. But the poison damage is going down by 5%. I honestly think that's fine. I think, all things considered, this is quite alright. The 20% AP nerf to the Q is a little hurtful. I think 15 would have been fine. But the E only getting knocked down by 5%. You gotta remember, these things that are rapid fire, they get very much more effective. Now, granted, if you miss your Q, you're fucked. But the E is like constant, like machine gun, da 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 da, like that. So it getting nerfed in a big way, or anything past 5%, would have been a lot of lost damage. So they definitely need to be careful with that. And of course, my family's vacuuming. So excuse the sound. I'm not going to interrupt this. Either way, I have a lot of things to do today. I got to get busy. So Ezreal. It's ironic because I still think Ezreal's trash. I think if Ezreal's good, that means either Ezreal's OP as fuck, or every other ADC that scales isn't in a good spot, or maybe the meta's just shit. Either way, Ezreal being good is usually not a good thing for the majority of ADCs, from what I've seen and from what I know. But I think Ezreal kind of sucks ass right now. I literally went against an Ezreal. Now, granted, I'm not in high elo. I'm kind of in shit low right now. But I went against an Ezreal who was 12-0. He had no deaths the entire game, and he lost the game because he's Ezreal, because he can only do single target. Now, I have seen in pro play, I forgot what his name was, but there's an Ezreal player in pro play that's really fucking good at Ezreal. And people say Ezreal does no damage, and there's a reason people say that. There's always the exception players who like work their magic, but overall, I think Ezreal's kind of weak. I don't think he deserves a nerf, but I think the pro player might skew things. But either way, Q damage decrease. So literally the bread and butter of Ezreal, the thing he needs to live, his lifeblood, is getting siphoned. So let's see how bad they're doing it. We're walking back on our recent increased Ezreal's Q-AD ratio while keeping the other buffs from the patch so that he's currently too strong of a pick both in pro play and solo Q. I don't believe the solo Q, and will indirectly benefit from some of the other item nerfs in this patch. Interesting. So, what are they doing? How bad is it? So, it's going from 140 to 130. Everything else is the same. Okay, that's fine. Irelia, I hate this character. I always do bad on this character early, but I scale, and I believe they buffed her, at least recently, but I don't fully remember. But I haven't been seeing her, thank God. But I don't know how to feel about her. I haven't seen her enough to really form an opinion, and I haven't watched Pro enough and seen her there, so it's really up in the air. So let's see. Base health increased and health growth decreased. So they're front loading her again, similar to Cassio, kind of. Aurelia's early game has two small issues. Firstly, she has too little control over winning and losing her matchup, which is ironic. I think she has a lot of control over that personally if you're good. She's very skill capped. And second, her overall sustain is so high that's often too hard to interact with her as the opponent. This patch we're trying to make Aurelia's laning phase more dynamic. She can be poked out more lively, but she has more upfront power in order to win the fights that she takes. So basically, you can't be a pussy. The health regen's going down, but the health is going up. This is kind of whatever. I'm just scared Aurelia might be good, but this is not going to do it. This is fine. Leona! What do we think of Leona? If I had to say anything, I would hope she's getting a buff just because she's getting a skin. Because just knowing Leona, I think Leona's already OP as shit. I think the ult cooldown is way too low. I think she's really strong. Now, granted, she's very low range aside from the ult. She's kind of somewhat hard to play, especially in higher skill levels. But if you play her, and it's kind of the similar thing with Akali, right? How skilled do you have to be to really do good at her? I don't think you have to be that skilled, even though she is a little hard. I don't think she's as hard as someone like Akali, and when you do good at her, it's really easy to do good. You just pummel them with CC. Not as crazy as Nautilus, but like still, Leona is a force to be reckoned with. She is strong, but she's getting a skin, so she might get buffed. So let's see. Passive damage decreased, W damage decreased. Wow, she's getting nerfed. I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised. Leona is performing well in solo queue and is the highest presence support in pro, so we're nerfing her. Makes sense. We like to keep her durability intact, so we're reducing her kill threat. Yeah, Leona could literally solo the AD by herself, and I know that's not saying much, but for her, it was like extremely lethal. She is hyper lethal, like the Master Chief in the whole series, Halo. Either way, let's see. So magic damage is going down by almost 20, nearly, a little under 20. And then that's on the passive too, so you have to proc that with someone else, I believe, but I forgot. I don't really play Leona. I don't even think I own Leona, ironically enough. And it's one of my favorite supports too. Not to play, but to lane with. And then the W magic damage is going down by 20 base. Wow. Early, not much though. This is fine. I actually don't even know what you max on Leona. I think you max Q, but I'm not sure. But honestly, this is fine. I don't think Leona should be doing nuke damage, which she kind of is. If they nerf it any more than this, I think it's too much, but this is relatively okay. God, I'm really sorry if you guys hear the vacuum. Oh my god, they're doing so much to Shyvana. Jesus Christ. So, what do I think of Shiv? I think Shiv is starting to find her place in the game and everything. I think, oh my god, this vacuum is distracting me so fucking hard. Jesus Lord. But, I think Shiv is interesting. I'm really sad she didn't get the ASU. I'm sad that Skarner got it. I still don't like Skarner's one. It's so weird because every ASU that comes out, like, it looks nice, but then when I play it, I'm like, damn, I kind of like the old one better. And I still kind of like old Skarner better than new Skarner, but I still think Shiv should have got it. But I do like that they did give her some, oh, thank God, the vacuum's done. I do like that they did give her some quality of life a bit ago with, like, how she scales with dragons. But, she is a very outdated character, but I think she has huge potential. So I really, really hope they one day ASU her, but I guess we'll see. In terms of how she's doing, I think she's secretly strong. I honestly think she's secretly strong. But let's see. Shyvana players have cooked and found themselves an incredibly scrumptious build with Spear of Shojin and Liandry's Torment. I hate AP Shyvana, by the way. I think Shyvana's versatility is almost near the same issue as Kai'Sa. I think Kai'Sa and Shyvana are two of the people who can go both AD and AP and still be extremely viable in almost every game and almost every scenario, situation. Kai'Sa kind of got it taken away from her, though. I think Shyvana still is intact, but hers got nerfed, too. Both of them kind of got touched, but I think they're still alright. So, we respect the genius, but she's winning just way too many games. She only needs a fairly light tap, as she's one of the easier champions to play. And so, a balanced Shyvana should have a win rate above 50% for most players. And remember what I always say, a perfectly balanced game or champion is perfectly boring. Either way, we're functionally bringing down some of Shyvana's base damages by converting from total AD to bonus AD and buffing them, which should weaken her current high AP builds. That's true, but should bring up the power of AD Shyvana, who's currently pretty unplayed. Wow. So it's either one or the other is going to be good, and they don't want both, which kind of makes sense, but both aren't really good because, like they said, AD isn't really played. And to be honest, from what I know, I think not only is it more annoying, but it's also just straight up better. AP Shyvana is a menace, even after the nerfs. So I like how they said E damage increased, and then you have this whole big, like, equation here. So I'm going to try and decipher these hieroglyphics real quick. Let me see. So the base damage is going up, but again, they're changing from total AD to bonus. And they're nerfing the AP ratio as well. The RM power damage is going up base damage wise. Oh my god. And total AD, wow, 100. RM power damage over time. Okay, so yeah, she's just slightly more front loaded, and building AP is going to do more. Or sorry, AD. AD. I don't want to get into deciphering these hieroglyphics though. But either way, Skarner. What do I think of Skarner? I fucking hate Skarner, man. I don't understand how he's good. I really don't. I think this champion sucks. I think he's unfun to play. I think he feels like shit. Not worse than Udyr. Udyr's one is like abysmal to me. When they changed Udyr, Udyr used to be a 3-hit passive guy. Now it's a 2-hit passive, but it feels so weird. Like it doesn't feel good. But Skarner's the similar way. I think he's niche. He's kind of very gimmicky, but he's just not good. And I don't understand how people are doing good with him. I never see the damn guy. It's so weird. But what are they doing? Base health growth increased, Q mana cost decreased, E no longer grabs targets behind Skarner. After our last round of nerfs to Skarner, he's landed in a spot where he's moderately too weak. He's also got a gameplay flaw where casting E backwards can instantly snatch up enemies and teleport them into his claws/pincers. We like to buff Skarner and remove his E-sec. His E-sec. That's a thing with Insec. Interaction at the same time with the hope of ensuring he's still a tanky tank, and has the tools to play out early fights as well. So his health growth is going slightly up. His mana cost is going down by 5. First attack after casting the spell should come out more quickly and smoothly without player intervention. Okay. And then E, expels impact new. So this isn't new. This is like a bug fix that's a nerf. This isn't new. Can no longer grab units behind him, which honestly seems fair, but it's a nerf because that seems kind of OP. I don't understand how Skarner's good. I still don't. I feel like these changes change nearly nothing about him except the E. The bug fix, which is a nerf, is like the biggest thing about this guy. I still think he sucks. Stylus. This guy is like so popular, it's insane. He's either really good or not that good. But I think they always want him to be good, especially around Worlds and Pro Play and stuff. But let's take a look what they're doing. I honestly don't know how he is right now. I don't really see him. So, what are they doing? Base armor increased, Q cooldown and explosion damage decreased, W heal ratio changed, which most likely means nerfed, and damage decreased. E damage decreased. Wow, okay, so he's too good. We're adjusting Silas to function more like a skirmisher and less like an AP assassin. To that end, we're lowering his damage while preserving his base damage and lowering cooldowns, all of which pushes Silas towards repeated casts, valuing ability haste and durability. So they want him to last. They want him to be just like an annoyance. Instead of maximizing AP per slot. On top of that, we're adding a bonus health ratio to W to further push him back to the HP AP item. So they don't want him to burst you. They don't want him to insta-kill you because it kind of is really, really oppressive the way he does it. He absconds and he abducts you. Either way. He used to enjoy back when Mythics were a thing. Ideally, Silas should be extremely good in smaller numbered fights, as his healing should make him scary in skirmishes, while his ult stealing should be what allows him to team fight successfully. Interesting. So his base armor is going up, and the less you have, the more it matters, so that's pretty good. The chains is going down by 1, which is pretty good. It's already low cooldown in general, and then with cooldown, it's going to be ridiculous. So the damage is going down by 10 in both scaling and base. That's pretty alright, considering the cooldown is just... Whew! That cooldown is going to be sicko mode. So W Kingslayer is getting nerfed by 15%, but it's getting the bonus health. And then the damage, oh, so that's the heal. The damage is getting nerfed by 10%. That's fine. Excuse me. And then my favorite ability on him, Abscond and Abduct. The damage is going from 100 to 80. Wow. I thought they would touch a lot more cooldowns, but they're only touching the cooldown of the Q. Everything else is just kind of getting nerfed. Wow. I think its damage is taking more of a bigger hit for what he's getting than I thought. I thought this was going to be more fair. But, again, 1 second for all of these nerfs and a heal change? I don't know. I think Silas is kind of worse, actually. Wow. I think Silas actually didn't do that good from there. Talon. Talon got, I think, from what I heard, because I actually know about this change, but let's see if they did it. Let me not say anything. I think this is going to be good, though, but let's see. Q dash now lands closer to target. Oh, Talon is slightly weaker than he should be, and he's got a frustrating point where his spells can sometimes betray him. We're buffing his Q to dash towards an opponent in almost all cases help him get that follow-up basic attack. So short range Q cast now dash within 150 units. So basically, you can always proc sudden impact. Is this a huge change? Kind of. I think this change definitely matters. I don't think talent's good in any respect, but this definitely makes people who are playing him a lot better. Does this push him over the edge? No. Does this make him a lot better currently? Yeah, I think it does. I think this is a very big pain point where, again, it's not that niche because you're going to be on top of people sometimes either when you're roaming or not, but a lot of the times you're not going to be too close to them where you're going to dash in with the Q from long range anyway. But having this as a little like quality of life thing is nice. It matters. It's not huge, but it's definitely a good thing. But talent is pretty much the same. I'm not going to lie. Unless people realize he's actually good secretly and they actually play him more from this, because that was the case in the past with Vlad. But yeah, no, I don't think anything's going to change. Varus. What do I think of Varus? Varus got some Giga buffs pretty recently where his killing passive rewarded him just stats on top of attack speed. And those stats kind of were really ridiculous, especially when you would kill a champion. Like, in team fights, I think he kind of became really good. But let's see. Base AD increased, passive attack speed bonus increased, W on hit damage decreased. Wow. We adjusted Varus from a couple patches ago with the goal of making him more balanceable for most players without dominating pro play. We're pretty confident in the direction right now, but he's now in a state where he's a little too weak for regular players and his optimizations are unintuitive. Interesting. I think Varus is really good, personally. We're bringing down the value of maxing W first and putting that power back into places we took away, namely base AD and his passive. We're further buffing his champion takedown passive to ensure he thrives in high kill environments. So they're doubling down on the thing I think that already is good. So his base AD is going up by 2, that's fine. And then his passive. So now he gets scaling attack speed with minion killing, which is crazy. It's literally getting doubled later on. Wow. Champion takedown is now going to 10% more attack speed, and then 10% more attack speed again as AD and AP. Wow. And then champion takedown attack speed cap is now 3. 2.763 was really weird as a number. I think 3 is really good. And this is going to make Varus, especially on-hit Varus, kind of an animal. I think this is a really, really good fucking buff. Holy shit. And then the W on-hit damage is sadly going down. I always like this, but it's still not terrible, but damn. Losing 10 damage at the end there is going to hurt. Because again, it's the same thing like I said with Cassio. For things that hit multiple times, really low cooldown, which literally you can't get lower than autos, right? That's the lowest cooldown because it's no cooldown. It's your attack speed. But this is going to add up over time. But with all these other buffs, especially to his passive, I think it's fair. I think Varus is actually going to be really good. But we'll see. Yasuo! I think Yasuo, and by comparison, his brother Yone, I think Yone is the better Yasuo because Yone is self-sufficient. Technically so is Yasuo, but it's easier to do it with Yone than it is with Yasuo. Yasuo's for a different breed. I think both are good. Yasuo's niche is just killing tanks because he ignores armor. Yone's niche is killing everyone. So, it is what it is. I think Yasuo could use a buff if we're comparing him to Yone. In general, I think he's probably fine where he's at. I think he's neutral. It's really where Riot wants to take him. Do they want to make him slightly weaker, slightly stronger? I don't know. I always think Yasuo, Yone, people like those, people like Zed, in fact, these are like staples of League. These are high-octane, very popular champions that, in my opinion, should almost always be popular and should have very little downtime where they're weak. They should be weak at some points, but not for long. I think these are really, really popular flagship champions, similar to Jinx and Vi. Either way, what are they doing? Base armor increased, E damage increased. Wow. Yasuo's early game should be much more active than the current one, and he should be able to rely on short trades around his E to get an edge in early game. As Yasuo is currently weaker than he ought to be, there are strict buffs to the OG Wind Samurai, so his armor is going up by 2. Not as good as the other armor buff to Silas, but again, the less you have, the more it matters, but still good. And then the E damage, so let's see what they're doing. So instead of going from 15 to 25, it's 25 at all times, and the base damage is going up by 30 later and 10 early. This is pretty fucking good. And then top and mid lane recommended runes have been updated. Yasuo's decently better. I think this is pretty alright. Not bad. Oh my god, and of course they're touching Yone too. Same things with Yone. I mean, I already kind of talked about him, but let's see. Yone is currently one of the weakest early laners in mid with a really dominant late game. True, and that's the trade-off, right? And we like to flatten out that power curve slightly. So what they're doing is they're just taking late game power away and putting it into the early game because I guess people have short attention spans or they just don't like getting shit on early. We're increasing his Q lethality in lane and bringing down his target access late game. Oh? Let's see this shit. So the Q is going up in base damage, which is really good because it's still low cooldown. Yasuo didn't get that right. Yasuo got his E. Yasuo's E is a similar thing, except there's a cooldown per target. So buffs to the Q are really fucking big. Because the more you land these, the better it is. So after 2 Qs, you're essentially doing 40 more damage at least. Obviously not taking into account armor. But 40 damage ain't nothing to laugh at. Especially like early on when you max this. Because you're maxing this first. I forgot what level Q gets maxed, but it's probably before 10, I think. Or maybe 13. I don't remember, but it's like mid-game. Which 40 damage still kind of matters. Aside from the scaling. Either way, his R cooldown is going up by 20. I think this is fair. I think Yon has his ult up way too often. I think it's very good. It's basically Orianna ult. AoE, kind of, in a similar sense. But it just puts you in the center. It's very, very similar to me with Orianna. In terms of, like, how it impacts a team fight. It could be really good. You can obviously whiff it. But it's also used as a movement ability, too, because it affects you. Orianna's is obviously the ball. I think for what it was, damage-wise, displacement, movement-wise, it was just really good and really low cooldown for no reason. I think I agree with it going up. If it goes past this, I think that's a little bit crazy. Ooh, and we're getting Zed! What do they do with Zed? I hope Zed gets buffed. I haven't seen Zed at all, and it's sad because I hate Zed, but I think, you know, just to be fair, Zed does need to be, like, cool. He's one of the coolest champions in League, at least as an OG speaking. So let's see what they're doing with Zed. Q-AD ratio decreased and damage increased at higher ranks. R cooldown increased. Wow. Remember they did buff him recently. I guess it was too strong, even though I don't see him at all. Last patch's Zed buffs gave him the power level we'd wanted, but we want to further adjust his power curve. We'd like it if his strengths were expressed more in lane dominance and less about being a late game scaler. So again, the common trend of this patch is they're pushing early game. As a stretch goal, it'd also be cool to see him in pro. Wow. So we're adjusting his Q to be stronger for the early and mid game and slightly bringing down his R frequency to bring down his late game power, which is fine. So how bad are they buffing the Q? They're lowering the bonus AD ratio. Excuse me, but they're upping the base damage by 20 at max rank. That's honestly whatever, because this ability is already hard to hit. I think they should have buffed it more personally. I don't think this is enough, but that's just me. And then the R death mark is going up by 20. This is ironic because let's compare this to Yonult, right? Yonult does a lot more than Zedult. Zedult is longer cooldown than Yonult. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think this really matters. Now, granted, the one target you're ulting should die, right? I think Zed is good enough with his ult and everything to guarantee the kill. But that's the whole point of the ult. Now, I don't know how I feel, because it is basically a guaranteed kill, almost, as long as you're not stupid with it. But, I don't know. These buffs don't feel like real buffs. Like, I think the stretch goal of seeing him in pro is, like, really a fucking nonsense goal, but I guess that is... I would just say net neutral, because I really don't think this Q buff is all that. And the R nerf is kind of sad, but realistically, you're going to have it by every team fight, or you should, because you do build a lot of cooldown anyway, so I think we're just arguing semantics here. Either way, those are the champion buffs and nerfs. I really want to get to the swarm stuff, but let's see the items. Death's Dance, the armor's going up. I almost never see this item, but we might see a little bit more. The armor's up. Nice. Kraken. I'm not going to spend much time on these, by the way, but Kraken. I'm going to spend time on these. Kraken was redone. Obviously, it was changed from a non-crit item. It's not a crit item anymore. Some people go it early. Kaisa, I think, goes it early. I think Jinx can go it early. A lot of, obviously, very fast auto-attacking champions go it early. And it actually got buffed. And Hashinshin kind of proved this with math when it did get changed. And ADCs complained, even though it was 9 times out of 10 just better than the old one. Which is ironic. But they finally figured it out, and now it's getting nerfed. So let's see. Kraken Slayer was retooled to be an early game gambit. Really, if ADCs want to skip out on crit chance and lower their 3-item DPS, they could pick up Kraken instead for some early priority. Turns out the opportunity cost of skipping Kraken is too high and it's too strong for these champions. True. We're lowering Kraken's damage for ranged users specifically and reducing the degree to which they can permanently keep melee champions at Harpoon's reach. So they're lowering the move speed, which kind of hurts. And then the damage is now, for some reason, and I hate when they do this, 80% effective for ranged champions. So that's a 20% nerf. That's pretty fucking huge. And oh my god. Who in melee gets this? Who in melee range fucking buys this item? Like, oh my god, I hate this shit, man. Maybe now melees might buy it. I mean, I don't think so, but like, bruh, this is ridiculous. I hate when they just nerf AD stuff. And there's a really weird mismatch, and it could honestly be, obviously I mention this all the time, it could be the culture of bot lane. It could be just like, if you're solo queuing bot lane and you're going with random supports who don't even play support, AD already feels like shit. I thoroughly believe AD is the hardest role, for sure. Now, does that contribute to it feeling like shit and it feeling underpowered? I don't know. In a professional setting, I think ADC does really good. It's still really hard because you get blown up by someone sneezing on you, but it's a glass cannon, and you have to be careful with that shit. But I don't like this nerf to Kraken, man. I really don't. I feel like it's way, way too like much. Now, granted, do they want us to build crit? Yeah, but will this put Kraken behind? Will this kind of shove Kraken to be never used? I don't know. Could I see it being a possibility? Yes. Do I hope they lower this to 90% effectiveness? Or raise it, sorry. Raise it to 90% effectiveness? Yes. I think 80 is really harsh. And they're taking the move speed. I feel like they're so heavy-handed with nerfs to AD. And I'm shocked that they haven't nerfed Tristana or any of the ADs mid. Or maybe they already did and I'm forgetting. I honestly don't know. But either way, I don't like this. Lord Dominic's regards. Let's see what they're doing here. When we adjusted LDR in the mid-year patch, we pushed the armor penetration high enough that it was no longer enough of a penalty to stack physical damage ADCs on a team. So we're walking its armor penetration back to pre-patch value. We should still make it clearly good, but also bring down the cap on pure physical damage teams. Meanwhile, Mortal Reminder was made strictly more powerful by gaining 5% crit chance, so we're dropping 5 AD. Everyone's favorite nerf. See, they even know! They even know. So the armor pen's going down by 5%. I mean, if what they say is true, it's fine. I'm just sad to see anything AD nerfed. I don't think this is kind of fair, but to be fair, I think tanks are fucking shit anyway. I think tanks are not tanky. Like, to me, the only true tanks are really Sion, if he's not being stupid, Ornn, Mundo, I don't even know who fucking else. I don't even want to say Set, but yeah, I don't think there's actual, like, good tanks anymore. I think tanks are just people who last longer, who are, like, bruiser-ish, but lean more into the tanky side. I don't think tanks are good, though. They die too quickly. There's too much pen. But, I think this is okay, sadly. And then the attack damage on Mortal Mind is going down, which kind of sucks. These are slightly worse, but whatever. Static Shiv. I don't understand how this item is good. This item was abused by mages, right? And I swear to God, the only thing, and they keep doing cockamamie things with this item, because this item is like so weirdly balanced and it's so dumb. This item, all they need to do is make like the old static where it can fucking crit. Like, I don't fucking understand. I hate this item. This item is so bad. I don't understand the point. It's more of an annoyance. I feel like it's not good compared to all the other choices out there for most people, and I just don't like the item. They brought it back. I was happy. I tested it. Maybe I should test it more. Maybe I might build this on Jinx first now, just to try it out, but I really feel like this thing is not good. It's more of an annoyance. It's more of you just want to push the lane. But when the fuck do you want to do that in bot lane? It's so weird. I mean, there's obvious cases for it, but still. Ugh. Either way, what are they doing? Static Shiv is stronger than people give it credit for. Yeah, I don't think so. While it's a common purchase on Zeri, Kai'Sa, and Sivir, as if Sivir fucking needs it, it's growing in popularity and very good on Jhin and Ashe? Ashe I could kind of get. Jhin? What? Since we're nerfing its direct competitor in Kraken Slayer, we're delivering a slight smaller nerf to tap Shav down as well. As with Kraken, we're deepening the bonus move speed, or keeping the bonus move speed, but lowering it to help melee champions. Wow. I want to build this item on Jhin now. I'm curious how this works. I could see it possibly being okay with Jhin to help with his Q, but I just don't like this item, man. Storm Surge. This item sucks dick. This item is a bait. You can check the item to see how much damage it does, and whenever I buy it, I keep noticing it does like 200, maybe 400 damage, and I've had it for a while. I think this thing fucking sucks fucking wiener. I don't think it's good. Anyway, Storm Surge is quite a bit less popular than Shadow Flame. I wonder why. And we think it should see more play. To make its purpose more distinct, we're increasing Storm Raider's bonus move speed, which I don't think matters, to encourage more playmaking. We're also softening Squall's nerf for range users to make it more appealing to them. Interesting. So 75 to 90 is a really good change. 25 to 35 is also pretty good. Honestly, they might just over buff the fuck out of the actual passives of this thing. Like, not stat-wise. Stat-wise, I think it's fine. The passives just suck, but they might actually start making it good. 35 is no joke, and 90% efficiency from 75 is actually pretty good. I think the main issue is it takes time to proc, and unless you kill them and it becomes AoE, it's not really worth it. It's really weird. It's supposed to be kind of, in my eyes, very similar to Collector, except for mages, but I just don't think it works out well. It's not strong enough. But this is actually pretty good. I think these numbers are nice. Cosmic Drive. This is a decently niche item. I could see Aurora getting it. I could obviously... Like, this item is meant for Lilia. Rise, who's never really played, he can get it. But not many people buy this item. It's niche. It's for move speed people who, you know, do stuff constantly. Obviously, Cassio needs to get this, but again, not many people want to stick on. You kind of do your combo then leave. Ziggs wouldn't get this. I can maybe see an argument for Syndra, but the problem is it's always a competition. The other items kind of feel a lot better. So what are they going to do? They're buffing this, but let's see. We're buffing several APMs this patch, starting with Cosmic Drive. In general, we identified APMs that we thought had a clear purpose, but weren't strong enough to pull the attention of enough champions. Again, it's too niche. So giving them some direct buffs, we're hoping to boost the power of AP champions in general and enrich their decision making. Cosmic Drive currently has very few excited users. Lilia. Which is too bad since it should be a really solid AP haste choice for AP champions who want durability. That would stand out more from other choices. We're bringing up the durability to more clearly signal its best champions. We're also slightly buffing the move speed and cleaning up the scaling, since no one can get a Cosmic Drive at level 1 outside of practice tool. Interesting. So now the Spell Dance move speed is going from 40 to 60 at 8 to 18, and then the health is going up. Okay, it's slightly better. I still think it's pretty niche though. Rocket Belt, the health is going up. That's cool. Rocket Belt isn't appealing to enough champions. Yeah, it's basically only for engages. Like, let's be real. After you use it to engage, you're basically done. Rumble, Kennen. I can't even think of anyone else. Maybe Silas as well. Void Staff. So they don't have the other item here, but it's the stupid Crypt Bloom, I think it's called. Void Staff and Crypt Bloom are very interesting. So they both give Magic Pen. I think Void Staff just gives 5% more than Crypt Bloom, and Crypt Bloom gives a giant AoE heal, where I think in most scenarios, unless you have Void Staff more distinctly stand apart from it, I don't think Void Staff is better enough with just the 5% to really dictate not taking Crypt Bloom. Because Crypt Bloom, I think, gives you... I don't remember the pure stats of it, but I believe it gives you health, and if it doesn't give you health, I think the healing alone in the teamfight is still decently good. Because you have to multiply that shit by 5. It's almost like an AoE Redemption. I believe it's Redemption, the AoE healing support item. But I don't think Void Staff stands enough apart from it. It really doesn't. So what are they doing? We buffed Void Staff a little bit ago, and we'd like to go a bit harder to ensure that's clearly an exciting piece for burst mages. So I think that's the main thing. I don't think Crypt Bloom should be doing a lot of damage. I don't even understand why it has pen, but whatever. But I think Void Staff is the, like, I am really going to deal with tanks, fuck my team, I'm greedy item. Crypt Bloom is like, okay, I want to, like, help out the team and deal with tanks. But I like Void Staff being, like, a powerhouse stick. I like that. Null Magic Mantle. Wow, they usually don't change component items that often. So what are they doing here? We're making a big change in nerfing tier 2 boots. In order to make that happen, we need to tap down on Null Magic Mantle as well. Oh, because it's a component. I'm surprised. I wonder if they're going to change Cloth Armor. But either way, this item has a nice side benefit of making this item shut down mage opponents less hard, which we like. Unless otherwise mentioned, all items that build from Null Magic Mantle have the same total stats and total price. So the cost is going down, the MR is going down in relation. And, okay, it's just cheaper and slightly worse. But it's a trade-off, so that's fine. So, Merc Treads. Overall, the nerfs to tier 2 boots are meant to make them the correct buy once you actually want the move speed, which I think is always good, instead of just the best early items in the game. Ideally, building your first legendary should be the optimal way to play around your laning phase. I feel like getting boots just feels so good, though. The move speed just feels so good. But let's see. But upgrading your move speed could be worthwhile if you need to dodge skill shots or close the gap. The Merc Treads nerfs is around 200 golds in total price and stats to provide so much durability at a cheap price. to the point it could easily shut down offensive AP punch. This is not wrong. I actually think Merc Treads was probably one of the best boots in the game. So the total price is going up, the MR is going down. That's rough. Berserker Greaves, they better not touch this like crazy. Berserker Greaves is losing around 150 gold worth of attack speed. So that's 5%. Wow. Nudging players towards finishing their other items first. I don't think it matters. I think the move speed is just too important, honestly. This is going to hurt, though. It's going to make overall laning weaker, but I still think people should rush boots first, but who knows. Ionian boots of Lucidity. Lucidity boots are getting nerfed over 100 gold of value. The price is going up. Summer Haste is going down by 2. Wow. Plated. This is going up. The plating percentage is actually going up. Wow. We generally buff steel caps in 14.10 by making it cheaper, giving it more armor, and taxing the anti-attack passive lightly. They did do that. I do remember that. It's so strong that it's become a default pick in many AD versus AD lanes. Yeah, it's broken. Making the lane more about pushing in the wave as fast as possible and less about interaction. By bringing the overall gold efficiency back down, it'll be slightly weaker than 14.9's version. I don't believe that to be true because they're getting the plating back. Again, it might take longer to get, but in terms of the actual power of the boot got more powerful. Like, again, it's obviously a time value proposition, but the boot is just better. Like, I don't like that. Oh god, the thing that nerfs ADs is better. Someone help. Either way, Sork Shoes. Sork Shoes loses heads up 1v1 to Merc Treads, and that will still be true next patch, but hopefully with the price disparities and overall pushing towards the finishing the legendary, it won't matter as much. So they're just slightly nerfing this. Okay. So the total price of Swifties went up, and then Symbiotics was unchanged because this shit sucks ass. And that's that. Okay, Wit's End. So we'll leave the boots. Wit's End had its on-hit damage scale back when it used to give flat attack damage as well, which has made it overbearing. Now the AD is gone, it's become somewhat of a trap as an early purchase. Wow. Unless you're trying to counter mages. But by smoothing out its early game damage, it should once again be viable as a first pick item. Damn! I'm actually shocked by that. Wow, Wit's End is really good again. Abyssal Mask. A few patches ago, we tried to make Abyssal Mask enticing, and I feel like it failed massively. The income tanks are the ones who have shown the most desire to pick it up, so we're embracing them with some changes to make the item even more exciting, which means it wasn't good enough. So the price is up, the magic shred is up, which is really dangerous actually, that's really good. And then the unmake aura is even larger. Wow, this is a good item now. I can honestly say this is a good item. Runes, Dark Harvest, this thing sucks. It is a joke compared to what we used to have, which was Feral Flare all the way back in the day, and then Devourer past that. I think Dark Harvest is like the poor man's trying to like relive their fantasy of like the older times, which were good. Let's see what they're doing. Hopefully they're buffing it. We just did Dark Harvest last month to make it a high risk option that rewards early dominance. Our hope was to make it slightly stronger than what it was before, which didn't quite happen. We're delivering some direct buffs to the rune. A lower baseline cooldown will nudge it up for laners, while a quicker reset should buff it for everyone in the team fight. Wow. I think the team fight thing is just a quality of life thing. The cooldown from 40 to 35 is also like whatever. If they keep doing buff like this, if this goes to pre 30 seconds, I think it'll be good. It can't be like lower than 20. If it's lower than 20, it's OP. I think 30 to 25 seconds is the sweet spot. But whether they have the stats to prove that, I guess we'll get there over time. But what do I know? I'm just a stupid AD player who's like in middle ranks. Who's stuck there, by the way, because I'm solo queuing. Either way, and I don't play League like that anymore. Either way, Fleet Footwork. If they nerf this, this thing is going to be like ridiculously terrible. I already think you get this thing for the Moose because the healing is caca awful. So it's like if they nerf it even more, I just think this thing is like terrible early game. Mid game and late game, it's alright. But I really feel like they've just constantly chipped away at this thing to where, again, death by 1,000 cuts, it's just kind of terrible compared to what it was. Fleet Footwork is providing too much early safety. How? There's no way. The heal is not good. Making champions who have an early advantage run over their lane opponents with pure sustain. This is not true. There's no way. This patch, we're lowering the early healing on Fleet and backloading it until level 14 plus. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. I feel like the runes that they added in that give you healing from the minions heal you more than this shit. It does not make sense to me. This is a keystone. It's supposed to be the best in the tree, and it gets outdone. Aside from the move speed part, the healing is wiener. Like, oh my god, it is. I feel like it's not good. Anyway, Arena. System changes to Koi Pond. Let's see this shit. I haven't played Arena because until they fix getting mastery in that, I really don't want to play it. And I'll just stick to Swarm and ARAM. But I really want to play Arena. I hope they fix the fucking mastery shit. They probably will when they make it permanent, because I'm nearly positive they're going to make it permanent. It's just too good. So let's see. Koi Pond. Due to the lack of love and care, some additional brushes sprouted around the Koi Pond, but in all seriousness, we read a lot of your feedback about how frustrating Koi Pond could be. I believe that's the one with the lily pad in the center. We're making up a few changes to reduce the bigger pain points we've heard. We still think Koi Pond has value as a map that rewards good macro positioning and risk being isolated. I think that's true. I like the idea of Koi Pond. With the setup changes, we're looking to reduce the amount of times you feel isolated or trapped on a single island. We believe this chain list is a good first step that will help make the map less frustrating, and wanted to get it out to all of you ASAP while we work on some larger changes down the road. Which means they have longevity for this, which means it's probably permanent. Let us know your thoughts once we've had a chance to try them out. We're still thinking of ways to improve the map. So the lily pad close time is now 10 whole ass seconds, almost 11. The respawn time is going down to 3, which is nice. Blast cones. They fixed bugs. They moved the blast cone slightly to the center, and they increased the cooldown. Okay, remove blast cone on the southeast island. Nice. Hex gates. Nice. Koi Pond only. So you can use it more. Move the brush, la la la. They can no longer spawn on the southeast island. Ring of Fire. Ooh. The initial size increased by 16. Koi Pond only, making it so you have more time. You can now close on the island, but it's much more likely to close on the southeast one. And then clicking on an island where the lily pad is closed will no longer cause your champion to stand still. Wow. Okay, so a lot of pain points addressed. What are they doing? What else? Augments and Prismatics. We know you've all been itching for some new arena content, so we're here to deliver. They're bringing 13 augments and 12 items to add a bit of spice. Wow! That's crazy. I'm not going to read these because I want to be surprised. And then Prismatic, I don't want to read these either. Okay, so we're at the items. And then ballast adjustments. I'm going to go over these quickly because this isn't a huge point here. So we're not making many balance changes due to all the new content. Okay, good. The less they balance it, the better. I'm not reading all this shit. I want to see Swarm and ARAM. Here we go. Hello, ARAMers. That's me. In this patch, we are focused on some champion-specific adjustments and reactive changes. Ashe has remained stable over the past few patches. To enhance her utility in teamfights, we've decided to refund her R cooldown. We have some changes for Scion for now, but we're planning to develop better levers in the future to adjust his durability and damage effectively. The rest of the champions nerfed and are reactive balances to Summoner's Rift changes, but we will closely monitor Milio. This Q is much easier to trigger the mana refund in ARAM. True. We will continue to focus the quality of life improvements and hope you enjoy your time in the Howling Abyss. Thank you for your ongoing support and feedback. I always say the same thing. I'm going to say it here. I believe they shouldn't overly police ARAM because it's supposed to be a non-balanced game mode. Like, it's already random as fuck, which is going to lead to unbalance, but, you know, the pain points are going to be really low lows, really high highs, but that's the nature of the game mode. They shouldn't overly police it, but let's see. So, Ashe R cooldown. Wow, that's lower. Fellows is getting nerfed. Quay, Milio, Sejuani, adjustments, I don't care. Okay, cool, not much. They made it seem crazier than it is. Swarm. So to kind of say a bit about Swarm, to kind of get all my opinions out there in some way. I might have made a video about it, but I might just include them in here and say fuck it, because I'm lazy as shit. I think Swarm is really fucking good. Now, Vampire Survivors is obviously the direct thing it's based off of. It does good things that Vampire Survivor doesn't. I think Vampire Survivors, having played both, Vampire Survivors has a lot of clutter in the game that's unnecessary. Swarm is condensed, and everything it has more of a purpose than Vampire Survivors does. Vampire Survivors has other things that Swarm doesn't. For instance, they actually track the damage of all your items so you can see what's doing the most and what's not, which I think is important. In League and Swarm, they don't do that, which I think is a missed opportunity. I would really like to know what's doing the best on my build and what's not, rather than having to guess what's strong and what's not. But in terms of everything, I think Swarm, ironically enough, has a longer life than Vampire Survivors. And Vampire Survivors has like bans and stuff on certain items and upgrades to where you can really get your OP build a lot more than you can in Swarm. But I think that Swarm, ironically enough, with the upgrade system, with completing things, if you're a completionist, and with the way they scaled the difficulty with the different maps, I think it leads to you playing Swarm longer and trying to beat it in a longer amount of time, which is good, which is what you want. than Vampire Survivors does. I think Vampire Survivors, you get too OP too quick, and the builds in that game are just too OP. In Swarm, it's not like crazy like that. Eventually, you're going to get to that point, but there's still a lot of times with a lot of the stuff they added in, a lot of the mini games and the maps too, which again, Vampire Survivors doesn't have. They took Vampire Survivors, they add their own twist on it, and it's not a carbon copy, it's a different, but in some ways better copy. The whole like Belveth trials, the whole Yumi trials, all these things, and having MF spawn in on the final map, having like an actual story to the shit, I think in a lot of ways it is better than Vampire Survivors. Excuse me. And obviously it's free. Now in terms of pure content and cheapness, obviously this is free, but it's not giving you as much as Vampire Survivors. You technically could play Vampire Survivors for longer because it has a lot more in the game, but a lot of it seems nonsensical and just overlapping. A lot of the characters overlap with each other, and there's not much distinction. In League, there's a lot of distinction. League is a more refined version, plain and simple. Swarm is amazing. I love it. I'm going to keep playing it. And I've almost pretty much completed all of it. Once I complete all of it, I might play it for fun, because again, it counts for the past, thank God. But I think they hit it out of the park with Swarm. I hope they bring it back. I hope they improve it. I low-key wish it was permanent, but people might get sick of it for sure. I think it should be a reoccurring thing. Hopefully they add new themes to it. Hopefully it doesn't take them too long, but I really, really love it. I think Swarm is absolutely fucking amazing. So let's see what they're going to do. So, time for our first adjustments for Swarm. For this patch, we're mainly focusing on performance, bug fixes, and buffing up some underperforming champions builds. We're deliberately avoiding nerfs, except in cases where something is affecting server client performance. Sorry, Yasuo enjoyers, or it's way out of line, aka Riven. So let's see. Boss and Rages. We've reworked Boss and Rages to be a bit more clear. So this is something that I found out over time. The longer you stay in a boss fight, the harder it gets. So after 5 minutes, bosses would enrage invisibly, causing all damage, invisibly one-shot players. After 7 minutes, bosses would invisibly kill all players who somehow managed to survive. That is crazy. So new enrage. After 5 minutes, bosses will visibly enrage and start to glow red. For the next 30 seconds, they deal 20% increased damage, after which they will unleash a Nova that kills all players. Enrage timers on Aatrox reset when he transitions on to his second phase. Okay, so you can't just stay in the boss forever, and if you're not powerful enough, you will die no matter what. I actually didn't know that, and I like that. Buffs and nerfs. Bosses. Aatrox has realized that some cowardly champions have found areas where his flying swords cannot reach during phase 2. No longer. That is crazy, because me and Jalik just found this out, I think this morning, ironically enough. That is wild. Briar has been working out for a boss fight. Everything deals more damage. Yeah, Briar was so easy. Like, Briar was a joke. Rek'Sai was harder. Rek'Sai no longer shotguns champions with missiles while knocking them up. Wow. Decreased Rek'Sai's missile hitbox to match the visuals, and then untargetable champions can now res allies and pick up cards and do the other stuff. I actually thought that was a... I don't know how to feel about this change, because when I go Xayah and I ult and I want to skip over the cards, because holding the cards till the end, until you have the weapon upgrades, is a strategy, a good strategy at that. And being able to skip them with Xayah not having to worry when you become untargetable is actually really nice. I don't know how I feel about this change. Remove the small window where reviving champions were not invulnerable, allowing them to be killed damage the instant they got up. I really hated that. That happened to me a couple times, I think. But those are good. Either way, all nice changes. So champions, Briar. Savage Slice, weapon evolved, no longer permanently loses its ability to apply bleed when Briar dies. I experienced this. I thought it was terrible. I thought they should have hot fixed this, but this is a great fix. Thank God. And then Fish Frenzy. E damage reduction is now doubled from 25 to 50 when Briar is below 50% health. Yeah, because an extreme Briar really gets fucked. This effect previously occurred when Briar was below 30% health and wasn't included in the tooltip due to an oversight. Wow. Aurora now detonates existing hex marks on cast. So that's a huge buff. Now gains untargetability during our cast. Thank God, because you could still die during it, which was stupid. Fixed the bug where Aurora would sometimes remain targetable while teleporting to different sides of her ultimate. Thank goodness. Alawi, tentacle length now scales with area size. Thank God. Area size now makes tentacles visibly larger. Good. Yasuo, Wandering Storms now scale with duration and area size. Nice. The base area size is lower though, and the base duration is a lot lesser. Yasuo was kind of ridiculous when he evolved. Seraphine, now properly multicast Cyclonic Slicers, Anti-Mines, Battle Bunny Crossbow, and Searing Shortbow. The fact that she didn't is insane. No longer permanently loses her ability to slow enemies when she dies. Wow. Jinx, Passive move speed is no longer multiplicative. At a higher MS value, she would lose control of her character by going too fast. This was funny. I'm sad they changed this because this was funny as shit. Leona, Shield of Daybreak. The cooldown is going down. Wow. The armor ratio is going up. Sunlight damage is going up. I already think Leona is really good. So the fact that they're doing this is insane to me. Light of the Lion sunlight effect is now properly triggered by all weapons, thank God. Eclipse now removes other shields on expiration. Only removes other shields on expiration. Wow. And Aris no longer permanently loses its ability to stun when Leona dies. Dude, these things where they lose these things when the characters die is like a crazy big bug. Riven, she's perfectly OP. Wow. Zaya, she's incredibly strong. They're not wrong. Holy shit. See, I'm glad. They're not going crazy. They're making this a power fantasy, which is what it's supposed to be. That's what bullet heavens are. Weapons and augments. Searing shortbow no longer permanently stops dealing damage on death. That is ridiculous. Gatling guns. They are buffing this because this is kind of weak. Nice. Yumi bot. I think this thing sucks, but cooldown now starts at the start of the duration instead of at the end. That's a huge buff. CD and duration have been adjusted. So the cooldown is now 20. Oh my god, instead of 10. The duration is now slightly less. Can now spawn multiple Yumi bots at once. Easy. Yumi AI hologram now properly scales with area size. That's hilarious. Tibbers. Tibbers kind of sucked. He's slightly better. Radiant Field. This thing is kind of weak. It's slightly better. And it scales harder. Train. I think Train sucks, but now that it counts as emotional support, but that's actually kind of crazy. The damage is up. Nice. Cyclonic Slicers. This one sucked too. It's slightly up. Fix the bug where evolved missiles weren't hitting as often as they should. The Uwu Blaster, as much as I love it, I think it sucks, but they think it's OP, so they nerfed it. And the augments, damage increases is now multiplicative rather than additive. That's really fucking good. Holy shit. Bullet Mania, damage reduction is now even greater. Nice. Immobile Immolation, no longer attacks or deals self-damage while dead. Dying now resets the counter to 0. No longer stacks or deals self-damage while in a cinematic. No longer deals self-damage while invulnerable. Wow. Cross Country is really fucking good, and they're nerfing it. Roaming Runner. That one was really good, and they're nerfing that one too. Okay, quality of life changes. Improved performance of Searing Shortbow, Evolved Ember Shot, Yasuo's Wandering Storms, improved game performance. Achievement progress for picking up vacuums and bombs now applies to the entire team. Nice. Added a VFX confirmation when catching the red dot. Wow. Bug fixes, I'm not reading all of these. Quality of life bug fixes. I'm not reading all of these either. Ranked queue eligibility requirements. Let's see this. After several of the changes earlier this year, we're happy to report that we are no longer see legitimately new players being placed significantly above their skill level. We want to ensure that they have better signals, 80% of new accounts, especially ones that predominantly play exclusively ARM or bot games. Wow. We'll be requiring that accounts play 10 games in normal Summoner's Rift queues as a prerequisite to playing ranked. I think that the fact that that wasn't the case already is kind of insane. You could go into ranked without knowing how to, like, even play the map. Wow. New accounts will now be required to play 10 normal Summoner's Rift games prior to being eligible. Nice. Adjustments to queue declining. Let's see this. Recently, we've noticed more players abusing the decline button to manipulate which games they will get into for nefarious purposes. Wow. I'm not doubting that it's true. I'm just, how the fuck did they do this? We think it's reasonable to decline the queue sometimes to get food or go to the restroom, but multiple declines cause difficulty for 9 other players. True. Do this will be making the requirement of declines to trigger penalties less lenient. Wow. And they have more down the line. Holy shit. So the number of declines is getting from 4 to 2. So your warning is after 1, and then your lockout is after 2. That's crazy. Bug fixes, quality of life, we don't care. And now we will talk about the skins. So not much to say here past what I said about the other ones. I think these skins are absolutely amazing. I think they take the niche of Project, sadly. They're better Project. They're more anime-themed Project, but they're really good. Leona skin, amazing, although she has a good couple of skins. Aatrox skin, legendary skin, mwah, really good. Battle Bear Lowy, really nice colors, although I don't really like the yellow too much. Battle Wolf Yasuo, epic, even though he has too many skins. Briar, absolutely lovely. I want to make out with her. That's my rapid fire review. Either way, that's the whole patch. Honestly, all in all, the fact that they're like giga buffing Varus, I really like. They're nerfing Ezreal, which is alright. They're nerfing Aurora, which is sad. Everything else is kind of weird. They're nerfing Aesol, which is sad. Cassio's getting buffed. Leona's getting nerfed. All in all, this is kind of a whatever patch, but slightly good. Especially with all the Swarm changes. All in all, because it has Swarm, it's going to drive it up. And Varus getting buffed is really good too. Fleet and everything else getting nerfed is kind of sad. it's gonna bring down the thing a little bit because some of these changes, especially plated, were really dumb. I would say 7 out of 10 Marc Merrills for sure. I think it's a decent patch. I don't hate it. I'm glad we got swarm changes. I'm glad we got all this other shit, but some of the shit don't make sense to me because I don't know Riot's balancing mind. But either way, not bad. Hope everyone enjoyed. 7 out of 10 Marc Merrills, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks if I still decide to do another one, which I usually always do. Anyway, hope you all watch me at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel.